80-foot jump.
Right. Yes, they made it weird. The other weird part, speaking of weird logic jumps, the opening scene, so Stallone's reaching for this girl who's falling.
Yeah.
She's at the end of her rope, literally, and their hands can't touch. And then when the buckle breaks,
Yes.
he grabs her elbow, and like their hands are a good, like there's like a foot of overlap there. And I'm like, well, how did she shoot up a good 3 feet when the buckle broke? Like, I don't understand.
Wind gust.
It was a big updraft.
Yes. That's my guess.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Also, I think that it was, this was actually shot as Stretch Armstrong movie. And then they rethought that and recut it into Cliffhanger.
I mean, I kept thinking about the raccoon in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls.
Yes.
Those two scenes are synonymous with each other.
Well, it's from the same era, right?
Yeah. I mean, Ace Ventura Pet Detective was at 94. So that I guess they remade it probably 95 because they were rushing everything. 95, 96, something like that. So that's a pretty recent way to dig on a movie.
It was but that again, I think that was the era of the quick parodies, like Hot Shots.
Oh my gosh, I love those movies.
Right, Spy Hard, all that kind of stuff. Is how fast can we make fun of something?
The only good line from Spy Hard was when someone's like, when I'm done with you, you're gonna look like Swiss cheese, and then he's like, that's no Gouda.
Yes. But they were. This was the era of it was really really fast, and people just they're gonna make references to other things, and it became, in my circle of friends anyways, if you understood, not that whether it was funny or not, but if you understood the references, then you were like, oh yeah, this is a good movie because I know more. It was kind of like when I watched Lego Batman.
Yeah.
Every line in that movie is a reference to something.
Lobster Thermidor.
If my mom watched Lego Batman, she would probably enjoy it, but she wouldn't get half the dialogue because it's not dialogue to the movie. It's just references to other things I hope you understand. And so that's what these spoof movies were. So within a year to making fun of Cliffhanger shows, I think, the impact that Cliffhanger had on culture. It was people knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, it made a lot of money. It was a hit. This movie was a big hit.
Didn't it make $250 million?
Let me pull it up right now. I normally get the box office stats. Cliffhanger box office worldwide. This is the height of his powers.
Yeah.
Box office 255 million in 93.
Yeah.
So this
what was the budget?
Budget. Let's see. Box office mojo. So budget was 70 million. So it made 255 million worldwide. And then it, on a 70 million budget, I'm going to go to Stallone's page right now. Cliffhanger with inflation in the United States, right? Just the United States. Cliffhanger made $183 million.
Incredible.
That's a blockbuster.
Yeah.
But the 90s, though, that's when people like Stallone could carry movies like this.
Yes.
Dude, 100. My mind is blown. So how about this? Let's take a break because there's so much more to talk about. I want to regroup.
Yep.
And then, because we have so much more to talk about in this movie. We'll regroup and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And Adam, I love the line in this movie where the henchman... All right, so there is the FBI guy on the plane in the beginning. He turns out to be alive. Rex Lynn did not kill him. This guy with a machine gun and a plane hundreds of yards away has pinpoint accuracy, kills the pilot. Then he kills one of the henchmen. And they're like, what are we going to do with the henchman? And John Lithgow goes, get him to the hospital fast. And they throw him out of the plane.
Throw him out of the plane. Oh, great. Again, that's one of those one-liners that they work with Lithgow because he's evil at the core of his soul. So he doesn't care about social norms, but he's allowed to be evil.
I mean, that one's funny, though, where it's just, let's get him to the hospital. I would have chuckled if I was a henchman. You and I are henchmen, Adam.
Yep.
We're on this plane.
Oh, I'm laughing all the time.
John Lithgow does this. We would crack up, would we not?
Oh, absolutely. I would even make a joke. And I was like, the hospital's out that door. Like, I would have tried to make it funnier again.
Oh, yeah, I would have definitely... Oh, man, I would work some bits.
Like, we're cracking wise? Let's turn... That's the thing. If you and I were henchmen, we'd never kill anybody because we used to doing bits.
Oh, bits all... Hank, McCluskey, get on it. What?
Yeah.
Like, we're just bitten.
Now, in 94, they were going to make a sequel called The Dam.
Do you think that became Daylight? They just kind of adapted it to that?
Well, so it says that TriStar Pictures plan to make a sequel called Cliffhanger 2: The Dam, which have Stallone's character Gabe Walker fighting terrorists who took over the Hoover Dam. But it never went beyond development stage. In 2008, once again, there was plans to make this sequel, and even Stallone was interested, but it was canceled.
I mean, there's no reason.
In 2015, on his Instagram, Stallone stated he'd love to make a sequel to Cliffhanger, which puts doubt to whether his reboot will actually happen.
Him and Rooker just in the mountains right now.
Like those two guys, like living in a cabin out there
with burger joints.
Let's assume Jesse died in a horse accident.
Yeah.
So now Stallone's bitter as well, and so it's like grumpy old men in the mountains,
just ripping people up.
So okay, I also want to say this because I want to in that sequel, it would be Quaylen's twin brother would be the villain.
Like Die Hard with a Vengeance, his brother.
No, like City Slickers, where it's both played by Jack Palance. So, but it would be played by John Lithgow still, because I think John Lithgow looks the same as he did in '93. Oh, he doesn't age.
Yeah. Same accent?
You know what? Irish. Like, go Irish accent.
Oh my gosh.
That's how you tell the two apart. Now, I will say, all joking aside, the part that brought me out of this movie, where I was like, come on, was when Stallone goes back to get Jesse and come back to get you. And she's like, listen, stop beating yourself up. You did all you could. We all saw you out there. You tried your hardest. You were the only one that didn't panic. And he's like, you don't know how deep it goes. He's trying to be like super deep, but he's just like being really whiny. He's like, you don't understand.
He's whining big time, isn't he?
Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I don't know. And he's just like so sulky. I'm like, come on, brother.
And then they go to later on. Rooker's having a great time with Frank.
Yeah.
And Jesse still works there, and they're all buds.
Yeah, no, Rooker Hauer's having a great old time, but whenever Gabe walks in, he gets real angry, surly.
And then he just left her to pay all the bills.
Because she said, where were you for the last 8 months? After the funeral, I had to go. It's like, but you couldn't say I'm going? Like, here's where I'll be? You drop me a line? Here's my new number? Feed the horses? Like, nothing?
That's a giant property, too. He just and then he comes back moping in his flannel.
Yeah. You don't know. It's just things happen. It's pretty intense. Like, it's crazy.
I think he hated that day. I want to say that flannel threw him off, and he was actually being mopey that day, and that's why the dialogue seemed mopey.
I would love to make that movie and call it Day One, and it's just a retelling of the story of Day One of shooting of Cliffhanger, where Stallone's mopey and nobody gets it. Like the director's like, Sly man, like, can you give me a smile? No, it's really heavy. Like, it's just him muttering all the time.
And then the flannel comes off, and he's just back to it.
Yeah, it's like the cursed flannel.
Now, you and I are henchmen. Let's go back to our henchman ways. What do we think of Travers?
I think that when he's around, we're super nice to him. And when he's not around, you're constantly doing a Travers impression.
Just swearing?
Yeah, you're just like, rah, rah, and you're just like, so that's the bit. Whenever he's not around, you're like being a fictional version of him. And I'm just like John Candy laughing the whole time. Or like Dom DeLuise laughing at you.
Oh, it's 50,000 codes. I'm the only one who knows.
And I'm just like, like I just like it's the funniest thing in the world.
You know why it's funny? Because he said it earlier. Now you're saying it.
Yeah, you made the thing that he said it good. And then then he comes in the corner. We're like, oh hey bud, how you doing? Yeah, no money, right? It's gonna be great. Thanks for doing this. You're a great basher to the team. Glad you're here. Yep. Like just like overcompensating.
Yeah, to the point where he kind of knows something's up.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, now there's a scene where they first catch Rooker and Stallone, and Lithgow's like, send one of them up without a coat. We'll keep one down here. Then he goes, well, kill him when he comes down. And Rooker's like, don't come down, man. You're going to die, which is very selfless. Great friend.
Yeah.
He would have
stepped.
in that moment, great friend. And for some reason, even though he has a rope tied to his foot, Lithgow allows his men to shoot rocket launchers or, massive grenade launchers into the side of a mountain while they are on a precarious cliff.
Yeah. So I think it goes back to like, hey, you must be a mountain person.
Yeah.
Lithgow clearly has no idea. End of statement. Like, he just has no idea. Like, I don't think he understands how mountains work, what snow is. I think he's like, why is all this white here?
White dirt?
Yeah, he doesn't know what's going on. So I don't think he knows the word avalanche. And so, when snow falls off and they takes him down, like it's an impending force.
And that one guy just he just stays out. He shoots into the avalanche.
Exactly. Now, I will say this. In that moment, so Stallone's in a gray t-shirt, and it's like 30 below out or whatever it is. When he breaks into that old cabin, and he's like shivering, that was very, very real. So growing up way up north, we used to go out into the hunting camp, and like we did this kind of stuff, and it would get very, very cold. We had to dress for it properly. There was one time where a friend of ours came with us, and he brought his son-in-law, who was not a smart man. And so he was going to go into this piece of bush, and like we had trails, and we would just kind of go and do rounds and whatnot. And so he was in there for a long time. So my dad's like, I'm going to go in there with my snowshoes and see if I can find. And so as he was going there, he found like his coat and his hoodie and his sweater, like just like the states of undress was going on. And so when they found him, he was wearing just a t-shirt, and he had hypothermia. He was like going to die. So
wow.
So we got him on our snowmobile. There's Italian for icebreaker. We got him back to the hunting cabin, got the wood stove going, got some heat and got some food into him. But he said that when I was tracking, I was getting hot and getting sweaty, so I had to start taking off clothes. Which when you do that, your sweat freezes, and it's the worst idea ever in the world to do. And so that was a very, very real. I've seen that moment in my life, so that was a real moment for when it happened. But then Jesse puts on this magic sweater. So the sweater itself is in this cabin, which is also like there's no heat in the cabin. So the sweater itself is also like 30 below cold, that cold as well. And he's still sweating underneath, and he's still frozen sweat. But he's like, he can't talk. They put the sweater on. He's like, all right. He just he comes right down. It's like a switch. He's like, okay, I'm warm now. Let's go get them. And then they suit up, and that was like, oh. You had the most real moment in the movie, and then it was ruined by just thinking that the magic sweater of warmth.
Do you think yak fur? Do you think it was the magical properties of yak fur that did it to him?
I think 100% it was yak fur.
Yeah.
That was a rat-eaten sweater. Like, there was holes in it. It was gross. It was not a warm sweater, I don't think.
Quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
One of the opening lines of this movie is a reference to how great Stallone's butt is. Is that an improv by Jesse, or did Stallone write that line? What do you think?
I think Rutger Hauer wrote the line.
Rutger Hauer?
Not Rutger Hauer, not Michael Rooker.
Yeah.
Wrote the line, and he's like, just see how Stallone reacts. I think it was a prank, and then it happened, and they left it in.
Hey, it works.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Now, where was Lithgow's accent from? And did you like it when he said, what's in the suitcases? Shoes, socks, and $100 million.
Yes, I did like that line. I liked that line a lot. I think that was one of those Stallone comedy break moments where you don't know whether to laugh or to is Dad angry? I don't know what's going on. I'm going to say his accent. That's a tough one because it's not England.
No.
Although I think he was going for England. I don't think so. I think his accent was from whatever small region
a colonialized place that has weird kind of...
Wherever Keanu Reeves' character from Dracula grew up, I think that's where his accent's from.
That makes a lot of... Maybe some island somewhere.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a relative.
I think it's a far-reaching island, but his parents were from England, and they were like missionaries there, so their accent was like originally from England, but it became a weird second dialect, and then he kind of grew up with this like bastard